This podcast contains strong language and discussions about relationships, sex, and love. It may not be suitable for younger listeners. This is the Can't Keep My Mouth Shut podcast, and I am Nixalina. Hello, it's Nixalina, and welcome back to another episode of Can't Keep My Mouth Shut. And today, my darlings, my dudes and dolls, we're talking about the mental fuckery that is post-breakup euphoric recall. Oh, this mofo. This mofo is a lot to fucking answer for. For those who don't know, you're like, bitch, what are you talking about? What is euphoric recall? Well, bear with me. I'm about to tell you. Calm down. Have another glass of wine or a coffee if you're listening on the other side of the world. And bear with me, please. Euphoric recall is basically a state of your brain, right? And it's not a choice. We don't choose it. In individuals, right, who remember the past with that fucking annoying rose-coloured damn glasses. If you're like, I've never heard of rose-coloured glasses, I don't wear glasses. Okay, rose-coloured glasses is also a saying where basically you look at the world in a prettier version than what is reality. You put on those glasses and everything is looking like nicer and softer and happier. And then you take the glasses off and it's a shit show. It's a shit show. That's the rose-coloured glasses analogy. And euphoric recall, connected to that, is what happens very often after breakups, especially toxic breakups, where your brain goes, oh my God, everything was better than it actually really was. So what happens is you have this sort of semi-addictive thinking which exaggerates any past positive experience, but then fails to bring up any negative side, right? So you're like, oh, the glory days. Weren't they amazing? Do you remember when we danced on the balcony? Do you remember when we slow danced in my living room? Do you remember when we watched the monsoon rainstorm until 3 a.m. together? Do you remember when I was on the back of your bike? Do you remember when we went out together when we got in at 5 a.m. and then we ate curry and prata and we just like laughed and giggled? And do you remember when we did that staycation and we had, right, okay, your brain does that, right? And it forgets all the other shit. It forgets the time that you cried yourself to sleep at night. It forgets the time that they grabbed you by the neck and threw you across the room. It forgets the time that they said they loved you, but they had just spent the night balls deep in another woman. It forgets the time where they said such shitty things about you. They called you insane. They called you crazy. They called you nuts. What about the time they disappeared? You couldn't get hold of them. I could go on, but what you get the memo. Basically, they're a piece of shit, and I don't want you to have any euphoric recall. The end. Bye-bye. No, I'm being serious now. Informative. So euphoric recall is a cognitive bias, and actually it happens a lot in addictions, right? Actual physical addictions. This is way beyond dating, but I'm bringing it back. So this is why people relapse in any kind of their addiction, because the brain goes, oh my God, right? And it selectively selects highlighted versions. It's basically your Instagram highlight reel. You can look back at that and go, look how fucking wonderful my life was. Yeah, because you weren't posting on your fucking highlight reel that time you cried yourself to sleep and gagged up air in the morning because your anxiety is so sky high because you just found out he's been cheating on you with 2 other women. Didn't post that, did ya? When you couldn't focus at work, when you couldn't eat, when you went to the toilets and silently cried and had a panic attack and then had to pull yourself out and take yourself back to the desk because you got too much work to do to be heartbroken. We didn't post that, did we? And this is what your brain fucking does. And it makes sense, right? Because our brain doesn't want to live in pain. Our brain wants that. Who wants to keep feeling sick? Who wants to keep feeling punched to the chest? Who wants to sit in that heartbreak misery? And what it makes it even worse, post-breakup, it is in fact your brain's attempt to cope with the loss and emotional pain of that person, right? So your brain is going, I can't handle this. This is too painful. This breakup I don't want it, right? I don't want it. I know what I'll do. I'll think about the good stuff. And it's also the way your brain justifies to yourself that the relationship was valued, right? And if you've been in a toxic relationship, my dudes and dolls, what happens in that toxic relationship is there's that cyclical release of oxytocin and dopamine. I've talked about this a lot before, but for those who've just tuned in, new people, hi. Your oxytocin is your stress level. You got that. You've got cortisol, it's your bad shit, which your body goes into when you're in a very stressful environment. Maybe you're thrown into fight or flight. You've just found out some bad news. You've got that, and then you've got your dopamine, which is all your good shit, your great hormones. You know, your dopamine hits, your serotonin hits. Woo, life is good. If you're in a toxic relationship, there's always a cyclical fluctuation of that. Always a roller coaster. They bring you up, they bring you down. They bring you up, they bring you fucking back down. Bring you up, and they bring you back down. And what your brain does over time is it gets fucking chemically addicted to that up and down, that high, that low, that dopamine release, that oxytocin release. And then this is why we all stay with the motherfuckers, because we go, if we just do X, Y, and Z, we're going to get more of the dopamine. And it feels so good. Oh, it feels so good that we don't want to let it go, that we ignore all the shit because we want that good shit. We're up for the highs. Those highs are highs. Glorious, magical. And you want it every day, all day for the rest of your life. But that arsehole in your life, I'm sorry, it's bringing you back down at some point. You might have a long run of a bit of dopamine. No, oxytocin, the dip, the roller coaster low, it's coming. If it's a pattern of behavior that's already happened, it's happening again. But that's why we stay with these toxic pricks, right? Because of that chemical addiction. And then if something explodes or they leave you, right? Say they dump you or they do something so egregious that you go, oh, I can't stay through this. Then there's the breakup. Then there's the silence. Then there's the pain and misery of missing their existence in your life. Then there's the sadness, loneliness, and in creeps euphoric recall. Just imagine euphoric recall as this like really jazzy, jazz hands human, you know, all dressed up, bright colours, like, oh, hey, I see you're sad. Here I come to make it all better. And we just relay back to ourselves every glorious moment. It's bollocks, isn't it? Right? And it's something it's not a conscious decision. You really can't fight it, right? Especially if, say, it was toxic or a bad breakup, you go into withdrawal. It's like I said, it's a very similar addiction, survival mode. And as we've all discovered, and I've said many times before, human beings are addictive to other human beings. There is no greater addiction than love. And I believe I wrote that in the prologue of my novel. And I'm never wrong. I wrote that about, 8 years ago. Still fucking stands. So your brain is trying to debond itself from that person. It's trying to adjust to the loss of all the good feelings. And it can't cope with the bad shit. So euphoric recall is your coping mechanism, right? So what do we fucking do? Well, you can't live in this euphoric recall phase forever. It's hindering your healing, firstly, and it's keeping you fixated on that relationship, which makes it harder to move on, and it's actually bumfucking you, no lube, about the reality of the relationship. You know you were trauma bonded. You know that person's a piece of shit. What are you doing? Oh, like for instance, say you're with someone who's really rude to wait staff, right? Really rude. Always. They're rude to anyone they think's beneath them. If you go back they're going to continue being rude to wait staff. They're going to continue belittling people they think are beneath them. That's who they are. It don't matter if they're really sweet one night and cuddled you on the sofa. That's who they are. So I'll give you some examples. I know you love my personal experiences. I don't. It's all bullshit. So the fiancé, my darling fiancé, he, as we know, did some pretty shitty things. I'd say proposing, allowing me to tell the world we were going to get married, letting me plan my wedding, and then fucking a woman 3 weeks later, having put a ring on it. That's pretty shit, isn't it? On a scale of 1 to 10, that's got to be well up there. So I broke up with him, and when I broke up with him, I went, the spiral down. I went to the darkest place I've ever been to. He's the only one that took me there. I've got to be honest, he took me there. And it was because I couldn't comprehend how happy we were versus what he's doing behind my back. Because and this is why even now I could sit down with him and have a beer happily, because I don't hate him as a person. He was a mess and he had his shit going on. But now in hindsight, of course, at the time, I thought he was a narcissistic, addictive, fucking cunting prick. Some of that still stands. But as I reflect back, as I get older, as I meet new men, and I'm going from narcissist to fucking sociopaths, so we just get worse. I look back and think, you know what? He did love me in his own way, right? I can be now objective about it. But at the time, I did feel that. So getting over him was so difficult, and it was pulling the rug on my whole life, right? I lost my home, I lost my dog, my engagement was doomed, but then also my relationship was fucked. And I had to move home, so my routine was gone. Like everything, every pillar of my life, apart from my fucking job, changed. And I spent 8 months just in hell, watching our engagement video on repeat, crying my eyes out on the balcony, didn't leave the house the whole of the weekends, didn't eat. God, I dropped so much weight. And I'd go out to drink and just numb myself. I wasn't having fun. I was just peppered with sadness. And of course, throughout this, euphoric recall just took over. He came back. 8.5 months later. And he told me he'd been knee-deep in grieving, and he basically realised how much he loved me and missed me. And I considered taking him back. I considered taking him back. I let him into my new home. I went back to talk. I went to his new home. I went back to talking to him again. I really considered, because the pain of not being with him was too difficult to deal with. I couldn't deal with it. So I thought, well, I'd rather go back. I was happier. I was happier back then. Yeah, euphoric recall was telling me I was happier. I was being cheated on. Of course I was happier. I was living in ignorance. Do you think I would have been happier if I turned up at the hotel and watched it happen? Oh, yeah, this is my man. This is my future husband. Yeah, does she feel good, does she? Let me know when you spunked. We'll go home. What? What world? But anyway, I let the motherfucker back. And I considered it. I went back into communication with him. Do you know what he did? He did exactly the same shit. He fucked off to Vegas, told me he was going on a work trip. He wasn't. He had his phone and his wallet stolen. I think we can probably guess by who. In Vegas, can't we? He disappeared. Even before he had it stolen, he disappeared again. He was getting drunk and sending me shitty messages again. And it was just, I got the slap I needed. Like, you are not changed. This shit is why you are not my dude. You're not my man. You're not my person. And honestly, I will be honest, that is the only way I got over euphoric recall, is I went back. I needed to see once again who they really are. And that's the shit part, is you might have to do this, right? So there are ways to overcome euphoric recall. Firstly, educate yourself. Obviously, you're listening to this. Wonderful. Great start. Love you for it. Do some more research online. Try and see where it's come from, what's caused it, right? Are you at right now? And then you need to basically restructure cognitively, right? You're like, well, that sounds complicated. What you need to do is you need to challenge any negative thought patterns and focus on the reality. The reality. You keep bringing it back. Write that shit down. Post-it note all around your damn house, right? Stop looking at their fucking social media. Because social media is your highlights, as I've just said. Yes, they look pretty in that tile. Yeah. But remember how evil they look when they're screaming at you and throwing stuff across the room. Do you know what I mean? Remove yourself from the situation, right? And you give yourself an objective, balanced outlook on what happened. Yes, I know there were good times. Even in abusive relationships, there are good times. Abusers are lovely 95% of the time. That's how abuse works. You don't have someone who's a cunt 100% of the time. You'd never have been with them from day one. They lure you in. They're kind. They're charming. They're devoted. They're all this bollocks. And then the reality steps in, right? But that's why then when euphoric recall happens, it makes it so fucking hard to rip that apart because your brain goes, but they were that. But they were that. It's your brain. But, yeah, okay, brain, calm the fuck down. Yes, they were that. But they were all the other stuff. And we broke up for a reason. I always focus on the breakup. What was it that happened for you to go, this relationship is over? Or they walk away from you. Can't do it anymore. Done. Where did you get there? How did you get there? Why did you get there? Focus on that. And that really helps. And sometimes, my darlings, we just need to accept that perhaps our exes weren't really good for us. I don't care how much your sunken cost has done. How many years have you invested? I don't think that matters. Because we can invest so much time with the wrong person. The breakup happened for a reason. You were unhappy for a reason. Do not let your addicted, chemically annoying, shitty little brain and its euphoric recall fuck you over and neglect the fact of the reality of everything that you went through, of everything that you lived through, of the reality of that person. You know who they are. You know who they really are. You've seen their core. And even if they're not toxic, what if they're just not for you? Do you know what I mean? It's okay. It's okay that they're just not for you at this point. So, I'm going to wrap this up. Whilst I completely understand this is so beyond your control, I get it. It's fucking annoying. But it's also normal, right? So don't start beating yourself up because you're missing someone who was a cunt to you. It's normal. Accept it. Give yourself judgment free. I'm telling you it's normal. It has a fucking term. It's a label for a reason. You are scientifically, chemically trauma bonded to that person. And even if you're not trauma bonded, your brain does this anyway post-breakup, right? Give yourself some grace. So breathe in and out together. Give yourself some grace. Give yourself some love. Sit down with yourself. Give yourself some reality checks. Write everything that happened down. Discuss with your friends, your family. Get a therapist if you must to untangle what really happened. And all the while, start your healing. Start your healing journey. Go no contact with them. Sit through the pain. Sorry, I need to make this clear. Euphoric recall don't happen forever. Oh, no. Mine is usually a 3-month at a push 6 months. In fact, actually, I'd say 6 months. I then have no rose-coloured glasses. I look back on them and go, ugh. Obviously, the fiancé managed to win me back after 8.5 months, but he was a special breed of man. I'll leave that there. And also, I was a lot younger and I really loved him. And I'm going to marry him. I wanted to marry him. So 6 months is usually if I've got no contact, right? That's very important. If I start to it, 6 months is when I have a cyclical change in my brain. And I go, ugh, really? Or I see them out and I look at them and I'm like, really? And I say to my friends, was he always that unattractive? They're like, yep. I'm like, really? Yes. He's always been this way. What was I thinking? Do you know what I mean? Give yourself the grace, 3 to 6 months. Euphoric recall won't last forever. And I promise you, once you get through this with me, I'll be there. I'll hold your hand every step of the way. You will just, my God, isn't life great again? No more mental gymnastics. No more thinking about them from the waking moment to the night you go to sleep. No more. It's all gone. You are free. You feel free. And honestly, that is the most addictive feeling. That is fucking epic. You wake up like you're on cloud 9 every day and all you are is at peace. Just mental peace. Glorious. Fucking glorious. And on that note, that positive note, I shall end this episode. If you want to talk to me about euphoric recall, toxic relationships, bad breakups, or anything in between, my DMs are always open for you. Reach me on Instagram at Nixalina, Nixalina. And with that, I am closing Season 9. What? Yes, my darlings, this is the end. This is the end of Season 9. Why do I sing everything? I cannot believe 5 years, 6 years, 5 years, and fucking 9 seasons. And you guys have stuck with me through everything. I am so grateful. I'm so happy. I cannot thank you enough. You guys are still keeping me in the charts. Wild. Globally. Man, it freaks me out whenever I look at my statistics. And I have you to thank, all of you. You listening right now, right, you mean something to me. Because you listening, staying till the end, listening every week, you make this just such a pleasurable experience for me. And I'm not all about a ratings, you know I'm not. I'm about helping the community. I'm about helping individuals overcome shitty situations. But do you know what? This is the parasocial relationship that we have because you guys help me overcome my shitty situations. I get to talk about it. It's cathartic. I get to express myself and I get it out of my body, which helps me move on to. So it's beautiful. It's poetic. I love it. I'm going to take a short break. But Season 10, it won't be long. It'll only be a month max. And Season 10, I'm going to come in hot. Have some really glorious episodes already planned for you. I'm literally just dipping out for the summer. So I will wrap this up here. Have a wonderful summer, my dudes and dolls. I love you lots. And I will see you in Season 10. Thanks for listening to the Can't Keep My Mouth Shut podcast. Produced and hosted by me, Nixalina, and recorded in the Splice Cast Studios in Singapore. I'm available to listen to on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, and all major podcast listening apps. Do subscribe to enjoy a new episode every Monday evening. Please do give me a 5-star review. It helps other people also find my podcast. For more content and features to read, you can check out my website, Nixalina.com. That's Nixalina.com. I'm also on social media. Simply search at Nixalina, Nixalina, to find me. Don't be shy. Come say hi.